So we're here to talk about the new year. We're here to talk about meaning and enjoying our lives truly. We're here to talk about resolutions. And is there a resolution we can make that we can keep? Like in the Christmas Carol, they talk about keeping the spirit of Christmas. So is there a resolution we can make that we can actually keep that would be meaningful and helpful for our own lives, as well as, therefore, if we truly embody it and hold it and keep it for others and for our planet? So the question I want to start with is from Molly, is what's a resolution you've made in the past? Either one that was meaningful and that you kept, or one that failed. So maybe you could say, what is one resolution you've made in the past? And you could just say whether it went well, whether you were able to keep it, or if you let go of it or it failed. And failure is fine. We can be open. We can make friends with tripping, falling over ourselves. So a resolution to be without judgment. Yeah, that's a continual resolution that we're always going to fail and we're always hopefully going to come back to and succeed at. Any others? I will say I don't typically make resolutions anymore, and that's why I feel so strongly about resolutions being something to look at freshly and find a way to make one that I can keep. And I have done. We can put the article in, but the Buddhist 4 resolutions for many years now. These are not exactly resolutions. They're the 4 limitless qualities, but they are resolutions or ethics or morals that I can keep throughout the year. So not buy any brand new clothes for a year. I mostly succeeded, but did slip up a few times. That's a great one. Molly, kept my resolution to lose weight. Wonderful. Being fit, but hopefully, as we'll discuss, being kind to ourselves in doing so. Joining a gym and sticking with it, failed. Can be a wonderful and a tough one. Stop making them. They never seem to last. Exactly. So there's the 4 Buddha's resolutions, if you want to click that and read that later. No contact with STBX and swimming 3 times a year. You're going to have to explain to me what STBX is. But ours 3 times a week swimming. 3 times a year, that could be a resolution easy to keep. Stopped making them many years ago. A long time ago, one of the million times I tried to quit smoking cigarettes. I don't smoke often, but still do sometimes. So never really worked, I guess. Soon to be X. Got it. That needs to be an article. The STBX. Okay. Writing daily for myself. Succeeded. Morning pages. I just talked with Julia Cameron for the 2nd time. Did anyone see that one? She's the morning pages author, the writing teacher. All right. So what is a resolution? A resolution is simply, I think, is a really worthwhile thing, even though I typically don't really like the New Year's resolution culture and I don't really make New Year's resolutions. So let's just take a deep breath and re-examine what are resolutions and how can they and how can they be meaningful. So a resolution is, to me, you're saying I'm 39 years old, I'm 29 years old, I'm 19 years old, I'm 79 years old, I'm 69 years old, whatever we are, and taking a moment and saying it's going to be January 1st, it's going to be the winter solstice, it's going to be the new year. Whatever it's going to be, generally around January 1st, the beginning of January, we say, here's something I would like to change. Here's something I would like to try. Here's something I would like to invest in. Often the cliche resolution is what? What's the most classic, kind of cliche, common, most failed, and most attempted resolution? Anyone? Anyone who hasn't spoken yet, particularly? Great to wake ourselves up. Yeah, exactly. Lose 5 pounds. Go to the gym. So what's wrong with that? Nothing's really wrong with that. If we want to be fit, if we want to be healthy, if we want to be active, these are wonderful goals. But of course, losing weight can be about other things, right? Losing weight can be about, I hate my body. I don't like myself. I overeat. I binge and I purge. I am maybe depressed and I don't want to go work out. Maybe I want those endorphins. So maybe I want to make that resolution, right? So from a Buddhist point of view, change is a double-edged sword. One side of the sword we want to engage in. Judgment can be okay. Remember, prejudgment, prejudice is the problem. Judgment can be discernment. Yeah, exactly. Gyms make a killing in January. It's like every year people in Boulder move to the mountains because they're beautiful and affordable. And then every spring, tons of people move back because the winter was so hard. So the realtors make a killing every single year. It's the same thing with gyms. The cycle of sort of wishful thinking. So where were we? So making a resolution to lose 5 pounds or to join a gym can be obviously incredibly healthy, about being fit, about being active, about, making sure our hearts are healthy, our bone density, our minds, our spirits are healthy. Or they can be about a sort of subtle or not so subtle form of self-aggression. Does everyone agree with that? Any comments, disagreements, underlinings, points, questions? We have one. Height. Japanese for yes. Driscoll has been a mentor in Elephant Academy, where we tend to say height because it's so affirmative. So any comments? Self-aggression. Yeah, so there's a sort of subtle self-aggression around change. So that double-edged sword. What's the healthy kind of change? The healthy kind of change is a resolution that is founded on what? Just like a house. What is a good foundation? A good foundation is stable, is sturdy, is thoroughly well thought out. It can last for a long time. Right? It can almost be taken for granted. Yeah, so what's the good foundation for any change? Loving care of self from Kay. Practice realistic forgiving. Linnea says, I seem to be able to keep my resolutions when I make them on my birthday rather than on New Year's. I love that. It doesn't really matter when we do it. It's just got to be meaningful to us. Our new year is our birthday, right? So that's beautiful. Or the new year for all of us is New Year's or the Easter New Year, whatever it is. So yeah, small, easy steps. But without getting into strategy, the best foundation is exactly what Kay said, is having made friends with ourselves, the good parts of ourselves and the bad parts of ourselves, right? The good parts of ourselves, we all love to show off and kind of exploit or whatever. Trungpa Rinpoche, my parents' Buddhist teacher, said that was just as problematic as suppressing or being ashamed about the so-called bad parts of ourselves, right? There's a little bit of ego or desperation that we invest in what our talents are, and then we overemphasize or exploit what we're good at. The analogy I always make is you go to the climbing gym in the winter, and people are in great shape. They all have their shirts off, right? Because they want to show off their guns and their muscles and their strong backs, right? Even though it's freezing in the gym. That's a kind of quality of like, okay, you're proud, and that part is wonderful about, your physique that you've worked so hard on from climbing. That's all great, no shame. But it's to a point where it's a little bit irrational that you have to show it off even when it's freezing, right? A little silly. When you could just be a little bit more meek or humble. And meek or humble doesn't mean being ashamed of ourselves. There's nothing wrong with being proud about ourselves. It's more about, as they say in Shambhala, in sort of Buddhist Shambhala teachings, the tiger who's powerful and huge and strong and beautiful, right? The tiger is so confident that he or she can be meek. Can be meek not as in shy, meek as in like kind of We all know people are confident, but modest about their confidence, right? Skilled, but modest about their skill. Anyone think of that? What's an example? Someone being modest about their skill. It's kind of like when you follow a sports figure and they're incredible at what they do, but they don't feel a need to brag because it's just apparent. They're successful, they're wealthy, they don't have to brag. It's already all out there for them. That's a level of Maitri. And all of us, it doesn't need to be some sports hero, can feel that about the good parts, the so-called good parts, the parts that our egos like or that society approves of, right? So there's things I've done that are successful that society may approve of, that my ego or my insecurity or even my good heart may feel good about. Can I relax into that success and not brag about it? That's just as vital as the other part. And the other part around shame is what we tend to focus on more. People following, so we need to make friends with the good parts of ourselves, good in bunny ears, and the bad parts of ourselves. So what's a bad thing? Bad thing is we fail. A bad thing is we are in bad shape. Bad shape. Bunny ears, we're going to get a lot of exercise from these fingers. A bad part is anything that we don't feel good about or that society doesn't approve of, right? I have a hat that says, make Boulder weird again. It's fantastic to be weird in the sense of if you're an artist or you're creative or you're just your own unique, odd self. That's wonderful. On the other hand, you don't have to be overly exploitatively proud about your own weirdness. Does that make sense? Are people following, or does this sort of feel confusing? Because we're going to get into the only New Year's resolution that actually works, because it's on that foundation. And to get there, we need to have a good foundation for this conversation. Even one step further, we have to be able to make friends with that fear. So the foundation is sort of, what do you call it? It's unconditional. The love has to be unconditional, not just sort of positive. Again, getting exercise.